Hey guys, Healer Holly here, and today I'm going to talk about trauma, and in a sense, I'm going to try and dispel it as an illusion. I know, what's he saying? It's so controversial. How are you going to, what? So insensitive, Healer Holly. Well, guess what? I'm going to try anyway, guys, because I'm an ambitious kind of person. So here we go. So, well, first I got to start with, and I got to look up her name, guys. I got to look up her name because I'm bad with names. So Lynn Margulies is this female biologist. She helped pioneer the theories of symbiosis. So she kind of really pushed the proof that mitochondria in animal cells and chloroplasts, chlorophyll in somebody's going to correct me in the comments. In plant DNA, in plant cells, were at some point separate entities, separate beings, and through the process of symbiosis, evolved to become something bigger. But that symbiotic process, and sorry if I'm using a lot of big words right here, take some time to use a dictionary if you need. I'm not trying to do it on purpose. Just gotta do it, you know. Uh, yeah, I'm insecure about this, guys. Just like anyone else doing my YouTube video. Before I go on too much of a tangent, does it help if I do it in a voice like this? Well, at least my personality's coming out. That's what my coach said I needed to have more of in my videos. There's to my coach. Connie Rose Addiction Coach. Shout out. She's amazing. Amazing human being. Anyway, she might now be the new sponsor of this video. I don't know how it works yet. I haven't reached that lesson. So this symbiotic relationship is marked by conflict or resistance, because so when a single-celled amoeba was trying to eat, let's say for example, this is how I picture at least, a mitochondria, the mitochondria went, no, 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 and the amoeba went, I'm gonna eat you for energy, and the mitochondria went, no, 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 let's use a chloroplast, because that's easier. Amoeba with a chloroplast, at least for my sake. No, no, no. And after many times of this happening, one day the amoeba or whatever it was at that stage in evolution, it realized that it was more beneficial to keep the chloroplast alive, because the chloroplast did this amazing thing in that it could turn light energy into energy. And so they decided to become a plant together, or algae or something, you know. They got married and became one organism. Union. The feminine and the masculine. The masculine that does things by force, and the feminine that just lets things come to her. And yet, what they also proved is they were a mirror of both of those, because the amoeba just let the chloroplast come to it. And the chloroplast tried to fight. Now I'm getting all poetic. I'll be doing these asides because they seem really necessary for deeper insights into this whole dispelling trauma video. If you can't keep up, I might do a part 2 where I just retake the whole thing. We'll find out. Anyway, let me get along with my theory here. So, trauma, I believe, is the process of our DNA getting up to date with what's politically, socially acceptable versus what devastating effects we might be having on the whole planet, our whole biome. So we're now learning drastically that our health depends on the health of our environment. We also now have all the technology we need to make sure food sources are abundant for everyone. Nobody's dying from cold. That everyone has shelter, etc., etc., etc. We've conquered the elements and we've mastered our niche. We're not being eaten by other animals either anymore. You know, we've reached that level of comfort as a species. So now we have time to work on our psychology, trauma. Probably all this leftover animal brain stuff that needs to come up to date into new conventions that suit harmony in society, such as play. You got all this male testosterone, aggression. Don't take it out on your friends because you're jealous of something they own, or you're fighting with some dude over some chick, or some chick hurt your feelings. Instead, go and take a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class and learn to harness that into humility and fraternity. You make it a conscious exercise to funnel that energy into something constructive and institute. Or for me, it's hip-hop dancing. I like to pose as a thug, as a hip-hop dance battle, and it makes me feel like I got out my dose of toxic masculinity in a way that wowed and stunned people, whilst in my head I was thinking like, yeah, take that move, take that move. Oh, watch this hit on that beat, etc., etc., etc. So, coming back to my theory before I lose my thread completely. Trauma. I believe trauma is just DNA's way of updating. It's a loop. It's a feedback loop. Because a lot of these primal intelligences used to keep us alive. Our brain had some kind of backup plan in case there was a lion or tiger around the corner, but really now all that's around the corner is Bob and Jane. There's other human beings. But there's something we got to do with this energy. And the other interesting thing, because I'm an energy healer, so what's coming about is there's a lot more energy healers. There's a lot more modalities and practices for healing, for therapy, for counseling. There's a lot more people realizing they want to reset, they want to reconnect. We are hardwired for connection, and we've kind of cleared all the obstacles at this stage in our technological progress and evolution for us to live in a society where we just spend our time innovating ways for healing and psychologizing, which actually gives us the equipment to find out more about ourselves. So people talk about ancestral trauma. I heard somebody talk about there's a lot of ancestral trauma in the neighborhood at the moment. That's probably really the stuff we need to get rid of. Updating our ancestral patterns, reshaping DNA epigenetically. Maybe at this point, as simple as a choice when you believe that there's a healer involved. Or just innate abilities that we're now ready to see come out and unfold on the planet. And if you think about it, there's so many different stories and versions of people's trauma that there's going to be space for a lot of modes of healing and psychologizing and therapizing. And really, I think what it's leading to is some kind of like new way of living. We all just energy each other up and we just live luxuriously because we've earned it at this stage of life, trying to complexify and diversify for so long, and consciousness trying to evolve, and finally finding us, this vessel here, the human vessel that can look back on its environment and pick it apart and figure it out and maybe have it lead us somewhere. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not implying that that's the truth. It's just food for thought. But so what I'd like to suggest, trauma, the illusion that we've ever been suffering, because if what it's going to lead to, if in the fourth dimension, I'm stealing this from Interstellar, guys, I don't really know much about the science. If the fourth or fifth dimension time is a flat surface, then really all suffering has just been part of a storyline that leads to something that's already happened. And Alan Watts says, you know, it's an allusion to some kind of Eastern philosophy as usual, and I'm just butchering it. But the game of Maya, if it went from everything being perfect to gradually getting darker, to get nuance, to get difference, to get contrast, to get duality, then we'd constantly be moving towards hell. But the game is so smart, the dream is so smart, it chose darkness towards light. because that way we're always moving forward, and that's a game we can all trust and slowly unfold to. And when you move from the darkness to the light, from the discomfort, from the atrocities, from the trauma, from the lack of comfort, from the lack of safety, to the light, to comfort, abundance, joy, connection, community, understanding, bliss, then those moments of joy, understanding, bliss, release, senses of freedom are so much more powerful. They only really exist because of the darkness. So, yeah, I can't wait for all the trauma to create all these healers, and then for us to sit back and be like, what happened? We've transmuted all the trauma. Well, guess what? We're just light bodies now. We know how to tickle each other's souls into blissful existence, like I imagine a Kundalini awakening is, or spiritual awakening, or any of these big crackings in the brain or in the psyche that kind of show you that it's always all been one. So I don't want to make these videos too long anymore. I've done like 20 minutes. I'm going to stop here. It's 12 minutes almost. If you like this video, subscribe, like, leave a comment. If there's parts that need unpicking, leave a comment. I have so few followers, I'd be happy to read them at this point and teach me about my own game. But if you are someone in some kind of field of expertise and this ignites ideas in your head, because this is where most of my intelligences come, is just seeing the connections when I hear another expert in a field speak, the connections that I've been missing in my own reality. Reach out. I'm going to start a podcast soon. So let's help each other create verbal bliss, mouth and thought orgasms to pave the way to heaven here, to just new theories that kind of carry us in light and gratitude. If we can make what already exists as science look like this, convincingly, because we don't want to lead people down the wrong paths. But in the end, it's all so big that it's, to a certain extent, a choice, isn't it? What we really hold as the explanation for it all. So guys, Healer Holly being really real with you and vulnerable, and hope you enjoy the video. Lots of love, guys.